Welcome to the Crafty Mini, and we're going to be looking at painting the zombies now in our next episode for the Last Days Zombie Apocalypse playlist. So this is just going to be a very simple paint job, something that stands out on the table. It's not the best and highly detailed one that we can do, but very, very simple. On the palette I've got some Vallejo grey green, a blue, a red, a green, a brown, and a black and a white, and I'll actually just be mixing the colours on this, and just to make up and block out each of the clothes, the hairs and things that are on all of the zombies, and this is just to variate it. All the zombies will have the same flesh tone, just because it makes them pop out more at the table, and that you can see them more clearly. And we'll go from there. So I'll concentrate on this one particular zombie now. You'll see me paint this in its entirety, and then after that we'll cut to other zombies, and you can see where I'm doing the same methods, mixing colours for the clothes and things, and just to get them all to variate. But it's a nice simple paint scheme that makes them pop on the table. At a glance you know what's a zombie because they've got this slightly off green hue on the flesh, and obviously the spots of blood as well. But yeah, really simple paint job, and we're going to go through it now. So before I settled on this paint scheme, I've done a couple of tests, and here they are. The quote-unquote king and queen of the HORDE. So this is the hospital guy, and the flesh really pops. So it's pallid, pale, sickly, but it has that green undertone, and it's the clothes that makes him stand out, and his body shape and things, plus the extra item of the trolley that he's carrying. Bit of blood effects paint, which I'll show you later on in the video. Really simple this was, and he just really stands out on the table. Also, how we apply varnishes can make these pop a little bit more as well, which we'll go into later on in the video. So I've tried a couple, really happy with how they look, and we'll go from there. Right, so on to our shopping zombie. We're going to start off with Vallejo pale blue grey, and all of the zombies' flesh are going to get this base colour. Now apply this quite thin with a bit of water on the palette. That's fine. Actually adding more water makes it dry quicker, which seems counterintuitive, and if it needs a second layer, do that. But if you apply thinner layers, then you won't actually block out with the thick paint, and you won't lose any of the cool details and things. So on this one it's just one leg that's injured, which will again apply some blood effects to that later, a torso, arms, and the other foot. So we're going to get that paint on now, and we'll see you on the next step. So once that's dry, I like to use a Thonian camo shade from GW. I just find it's got a really nice greeny hue, but you can use any green wash really, or any wash you'd like. I pick green so I know that from a tabletop perspective they look like zombies and they all pop, and because they've all got the same flesh tone, as if it's like a unified disease, you know from a glance what is a zombie, and they all look like a horde when you get a few of these miniatures together as well. So I'm just applying this on now, making sure that it pulls in the recesses. If there's too much on the brush, I'll just feather it away. So basically you dry it, wet out your brush, clean it, and then just pop it back on, and it'll absorb any of the excess of the wash that you've put on. But make sure it goes into all the areas, and this basically just helps define all the extra bits of detail that are on the miniature. And the green in that wash is just going to tint the skin. And you can see now the details are going to start to pop, especially things like the damage on the side of her face where she's been bitten, the hole in the leg. I mean, these miniatures from Warlord Games have been fantastic. Really easy to put together, and there's loads of character. Okay, so now what I do is I go back to the original skin colour and I just pick out a few of the highlights, especially on the flatter areas where the wash might have sort of left strange sort of brush marks and doesn't look as good. And all I'm doing is just going over the raised areas, so that like the calf, front, any flat areas mainly, and just use this to pick them out. And this is something I'll keep reiterating through the video. This isn't about doing the best paint job we can. This is to make these stand out and look cool and be ready to play. Because they're really small miniatures and I just want to get these on the table and play a game. Now, like when you see them in other videos like the busts or the bigger scale figures, yeah, that's where I'll spend a lot of time painting, and that's a different style of painting for me. These are to get them game ready and have fun with. So again, just going through all the raised areas, so the hips, the front of a chest, the shoulders, the calves and things, and this just makes the skin pop a little bit more. You still get that sickly green undertone, and some of the miniatures after this step I'll even go in and put a thinned down version of the green wash back on, just to colour the skin a little bit more. Right, so with the flesh done, it's time to start picking out all the bits of details on the miniature, the clothes, hair, if they're carrying any items and things like that. So for this one, I've just got some Vallejo Prussian blue. I've added in a little bit of the flesh colour just to tone it down a touch. I'm going to block in all the jeans now. So with this step, you want to take your time. You want to try not to get anything onto the flesh, although it is easy to fix if you do so. You know, go back in with the original colour. But just going through now and picking out all the trousers on the miniature, and you can see that the one leg, it's as if the fabric's been ripped, and that's where she's got this horrific hole that goes right through. One thing I'll say for these miniatures, the wounds on a lot of them are very grotesque and they look cool. This is what you want in a zombie game. You know, these poor people who've turned have been bitten horrifically, and we'll see some of the close-ups when they're all finished at the end. And what I've done here is I've just got the same blue that was already left on the brush. I hadn't cleaned it. Just added a bit of red to make this a purpley colour, and then we're going to do the top that the zombie's wearing. And this is why I like the wet palette, because you just get yourself a bunch of colours and just mix them. You don't have to use a fresh pot for each colour. You can just mix on the palette and just go wild with it, have a bit of fun. You know, do things that you wouldn't normally do. It's a really nice way of making variating browns as well, actually, which we'll see later on. But again, just blocking out all the clothes, any items, and you'll see that when we come to the bags and things, the same again, I'll mix like a bit of the flesh colour with red to get a pink and so on. And what I've done now is gone for a bright blue and block out the shoes that she's wearing. And to fair, this contrasts quite nice because they're like a stiletto, high heel shoe, and you've still got the sort of top of the feet showing, and it just gives a nice bit of contrast. And when we block out the bases, which I always do mine in a nice dark grey, this will give a really nice contrast to the miniature, and all the colours show. Because these are quite fresh zombies, is sort of my idea behind them. Because you've seen things like The Walking Dead, where it's been a couple of years after the outbreak and the zombies are very brown and muted. I want these colourful and popping out on the table. Now, whenever I'm painting, this is a slight aside, but I've always got something like a podcast or an audio book going. And obviously when I was painting these, it's something zombie related, just to sort of get me in the mood, and I just find it fun. Now, I mentioned in that first video some of the books that I like, and I found this cracking audiobook I'm going to share. This is completely sponsor free, but it's called The Zombie War Battle for Britain. Highly recommend it. So the author, Tom Holroyd, what he's done is he's taken a lot of the things from Max Brooks's World War Z, and he's actually just focused on the UK and characters from that, and it's the same format. So it's a bunch of survivors after the zombie war who've been interviewed. You've got things like an ex-special forces, some of the people, just normal people who survived, some ministers from Parliament and things. But he actually does a lot of callbacks to other mentions that are in the World War Z book. So, for example, the Rudiker Plan, for people who've read it, the Balmoral Decree that the Queen issues for everyone in the UK. And I just thought it was a really good, almost like an unofficial addition to the book. So it purely focuses on the UK. If anyone knows of any books, same sort of thing but different countries, please let me know, because I'd love to read them. I'd love if there's an author out there that's done that, because while World War Z is all encompassing and you get interviews from people all over the world, it'd be nice to hear more of a detailed, very sort of micro level look at a particular nation. But just thought I'd throw that in. That's a really good book to have a read of or a listen to if you're into zombie literature. Right, so the hair, really easy. So I've just got me some orangey brown. So I always put a couple of browns on the palette, and then if I need anything else, I'll mix it from the other colours. This is a nice simple one. And hair colours are a really good way of making all your miniatures pop, especially if they're for like the quote-unquote monsters of any game. Because you can have like a blonde, you could do like a really wacky colour and say it was someone who dyed their hair. Obviously you got blacks, greys, all colours in the spectrum that you can use for hair colour. And then when you mix things up as well, and it just looks good, it adds variation, and again it makes them pop. They're very, very colourful, the paint scheme for these zombies. So anyway, where I've gone over the skin a little bit, so I'm going to go back in with the base flesh colour, and this will get another camo shade wash on top. Now at this point the trousers are dry, so I get the original colour I used, add a little bit of a lighter colour in there, so in this case more of the flesh colour, and using it as a highlight and just picking out the raised areas on that item of clothing. And I do this for all of them, and it just adds a touch of detail. It's more than just doing a base colour, and I suppose you could also accomplish this with just a base colour and a simple wash, but it just adds something else to the miniature. And again, when we apply the varnishes later, this will really make it pop. Right, so all the bags are painted, the clothing's painted, and the hair's done. Now we're just going to add a few more details, and this zombie will be ready. So washes, always use them, especially for simple paint jobs like this. So the hair's getting a Seraphim sepia wash, You could just use a brown wash for this, and it just pops out any of the detail that's on the hair. And then the side of a face, so on this particular miniature, you may not be able to make it out, but it's actually a skull showing, so that's going to get the same. And I put a little bit into the sort of deeper recess of the wounds where the bone's showing, just to add a bit of variation. And when this gets the blood effects, it looks really nice and it pops. Right, so for the blood, I use glistening blood, army painter paint effects. You could use Citadel blood for the blood god, anything like that, or just blood with a very high gloss content, same sort of thing. And this gets applied in blobs on areas and then moved around, and this is just anywhere where there's a wound, so around the side of a sort of flesh where there's been a bite mark or anything like that, the big hole in a leg. Some of the miniatures actually have less wounds, and I'll just put it around the mouth and sort of dripping down the clothing and things as well, just to look like they've had, they've just recently had a fresh bite. And again, this is just because it's such a contrasting colour to that pallid green sort of flesh, it just makes everything pop. So each of the zombies get this added on. After I've done all that and I'm happy with everything, I get the base done with the German grey green. Really, really simple. Now, after this is all done and everything's dry, that's when we go in with varnishes, and this is where you can actually take your painting to the next level, and it does a lot for the miniature. It sounds really strange, but it does work. What I do is anything that is clothing, unless it's something for specific like a leather jacket, but any clothing and the base and the hair all get a matte varnish. I use Green Stuff's World's Max Matte. It's a really high matte varnish. So base clothing, they all get that, and the hair. The skin, I use a Vallejo satin varnish, just to makes it a little bit wet, so it looks a bit more lived. And then if there's anything specific, like sometimes I'll put a bit of gloss on the blood to make it look fresher. But once that's dry, it adds a whole new level to the miniature. I'll do a video more detailing that at some point when because I'm currently working on another bust for the channel, and this is a present for a friend. So when we get that done, I'll go into more depth. But honestly, it works. It's a lovely way of adding a bit more character, and that it makes them pop more on the table, which is ultimately what we want, a simple paint job that makes everything work. So after this, I'm going to show you some of the other zombies. Now, the steps are exactly the same. So the flesh colour, the green wash, pick out the clothes with whatever colours I want, and the hair and stuff like that. Do the wounds, and add the blood effects. That's it. And then varnish them in the exact same way. So clothing with matte varnish, skin with satin, and gloss for anything specific if I need it. So what you're going to see now is just a bunch of miniatures that I've painted. Sit back and enjoy, and then we'll be back for the horde at the end. Right, so that is how you make a zombie horde. Quick and simple, sort of tabletop ready. Again, I've mentioned this before in the video. It's not about making every miniature as highly detailed and as perfect as we can. This is about getting them on the table and having fun with them. When they're all together or in smaller groups, they really punch and stand out. That green flesh comes out, as you can see here in the images. It's just fun. It's a simple paint job to get them onto your tabletop. As I say, for other things like the bus and that, or high detail miniatures, I'll spend more time with, but this is just about getting them game ready. And you can see here the varnishes really work. It makes the clothes muted and quite normal looking, and the blood stands out because it's got that high gloss content. We'll see you on the next video. Also, Nobo1982, I got a message from yourself on my Githyanki bust about discussing and explaining brush techniques and things. I'm going to add that into more videos. That's why this series I've decided to narrate them. We've also got a bust coming up where I'll go into more depth of things like that. If there's any tips or tricks or anything you want to know, message me and I can do a little video, or I'll answer them at the very least. Otherwise, I've got an idea coming. We're going to do a live paint session, so I'm literally just going to sit there with the camera on, paint an item, which I will edit into a proper video for the channel, but people can actually just watch along and ask me questions in the real time. So that's something I'm working on now. Other than that, enjoy. These are the images from the zombies, and I love them. I think they're brilliant. They look really nice. It's a simple paint job, but it works. But thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let's get the channel growing, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.